Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn regarding the environmental hygiene, in that the unit number 3, and the unit name is Community Organization to Promote Environmental Health. In the previous lectures and in the previous units we have learned regarding the factors, environmental factors that contributes to the health, and today in this lecture we are going to learn regarding the community organizations, the ways to promote the environmental health. So we will today going to see the environmental organizations. Now introduction. So firstly, environmental health is a global concern, as we all know, and environmental health problems play an important role in the health status of men, family and the total community. So there is a growing awareness about these problems in the minds of people. Environmental factors such as lack of water supply, inadequate sanitation, indoor pollution resulting from the use of biomass fuels, air pollution and noise pollution, they are responsible for many diseases, and which can be prevented by controlling these environmental pollutant factors. The greater portion of environmental burden of ill health is borne by the rural population in the rural areas due to lack of facilities of like safe water supply, proper disposal of refuse and waste materials, and unavailability of the commercial fuels. By improving the environmental sanitation inside and outside the house, such as safe water supply, sanitation, smokeless vehicles, that means non-polluting vehicles, and clean cooking fuels, can reduce the mortality and the morbidity rate. So as this we have already discussed, mortality rate, that is death rate, and morbidity rate is disease or illness rate. So if we are improving this kind of environmental sanitation inside our house and outside our house, so it can ultimately lead to the lack of less mortality rate and less morbidity rate. Premature death and illness due to major environmental health risk account 20% of total burden of the health diseases in the India. So this is the some brief introduction of the chapter. Now we'll see the chapter. So firstly we'll see the environmental health risk. Basically environmental health risk falls into two categories if we are classifying it. The first one is traditional hazards, and the second one is modern hazards. So the first is traditional hazards. These are related to poverty, that is the people who are having low family income or the low socioeconomical income to survive, so they are considered under the poverty. So these traditional hazards are related to poverty and lack of development, such as lack of safe water, inadequate sanitation and waste disposal of indoor air pollution and vector-borne diseases. And the second one category, that is modern hazards, these are caused by development that lacks environmental safeguards, such as urban air pollution and exposure to ergo industrial chemicals and waste materials. So these are the environmental health risk. If we are classifying it, we can classify it under the two categories. So the first category is traditional hazard and the second one is modern hazard. Now, how can we protect this environment? So protection of the environment involves basically environmental pollution is protected at national and state level. So voluntary and social agencies also participate to reduce the environmental pollution. So there are so many voluntary agencies, non-voluntary agencies are there who are working for the protection of environment. Now firstly we'll see the national level organizations who are working for the better environment. So these are all the national level organizations. So the first national level organization is, the first one is Ministry of Environment and Forest. The second national organization is Department of Environment. Third one is Central Pollution Control Board. Fourth is National Museum of Natural Sciences. Fifth is Central Ganga Authority. Sixth, Ecological Department Board. Seventh, Indian National Human Animal Kingdom and Environmental Research Society. and 8th, Environmental Protection Authority. We'll see one by one. The first one is Ministry of Environment and Forest. So this is the national level organization who is working for the better environment or to promote the environment. As there is a strong need for the conservation of environment and forest, as we all know, due to cutting of forest for housing constructions, setting up for the industries and for the developments of urbanizations, and widening of the roads for the purpose of fuel, lakes of trees and forest are exit, and new implantation of the trees is very less as compared to the destruction. As a result, not only the wildlife is being distinguished, but the environment is also getting polluted day by day. So, to conserve that environment and forest, central government has set up a separate Ministry of Environment and Forest in 1985 to conserve the environmental health and forest. The department working under these ministry are Environment, Forest and Wildlife. So basically this Ministry of Environment and Forest is working for the environment, forest and wildlife, and it is basically set up on the 1985. So this is of Ministry of Environment and Forest. The second one is Department of Environment. This department has central authority to plan, encourage and coordinate environmental programs. The success of the environmental conservation depends on the environmental programs to create awareness and making people conscious about the environmental hazards. A national environmental awareness campaign has been launched to sensitize the people to the environmental problems through audio and visual programs, seminars, symposia and training programs, etc. So for that, Paryavaran Vahini has been constituted in 184 districts involving the local people to play an active role in preventing poaching, deforestation and environmental pollution. So this is the second Department of Environment who is working for the environmental betterment. So basically here Paryavaran Vahini has been constituted in the 184 districts. So through that they will include local peoples and they will play an active role in preventing poaching, deforestation and environmental pollution. So this is the Department of Environment. An environmental information system network has been set up to disseminate information on environmental issues. India has a large network of NGOs, that is non-governmental organizations, which are involved in spreading message of sustainable development to the public. Then these are the institutions involved in environmental activities. So these all are the institutions. The first institute is Environmental Training Institute. So the Environmental Training Institute was established in 1994. Over the years, the institute has conducted 124 technical programs involving 1955 participants, and 36 special environmental awareness programs have been conducted for NGOs, government officials, professionals, universities and educational institutions. The similar environmental training institutes have been established by the government in various states. So these are the some institutions which are involved in the environmental activities. In that, the first institute is Environmental Training Institute, where the environmental training is been given, and it was established on the 1994, and over the year it was conducted the 124 technical programs in which they were involving 1955 participants, in which 36 special environmental awareness program has been conducted. So this is regarding the Environmental Training Institute. The next institute is Tata Research Institute. This is also important. Tata Research Institute has launched Growth with Resource, Enhancement of Environment and Nature, that is Green India 2047 project. So here basically by the Tata Research Institute, they have launched this program. The name of the program is Growth with Resource, Enhancement of Environment and Nature and Green India 2047. 1947. This is the project. So the major cause of indoor pollution is that the weaker section of the society is dependent on low grade biomass energy source. Yes, we are not using so much biomass energy source, so we are having the less dependent society on basically this. So these emits harmful gases which pollutes the atmosphere as well as the residents of the houses, especially the women, children and old population, I mean geriatric people who stays at the house, they are exposed to the smoke. These causes various respiratory problems, heart diseases, pregnancy related problems, eye diseases, etc. And these problems can be solved by making good quality of fluid full available. So currently efforts to produce methane gas or other gases from organic matter are emphasized so that they can lead to clean combustion for the cooking purposes. Then the third one is Central Pollution Control Board. So Central Pollution Control Board is an autonomous body who is affiliated with the Ministry of Environment and Forest, and these were set up in September 1947 under Water Pollution Prevention and Control Ordinance in 1974. So this is the highest national authority to control the environmental pollution. Central Pollution Control Board has the responsibility to implement the laws, the rules that is related to State Pollution Control Board and societies. These board develops the rules which describe the standards of pollution, discharge in air and water and the degree of noise. It advises central government on all the issues related to prevention and control of air, water and noise pollution, and it provides technical services to the Ministry of Environment and Forest for the implementation of the environment. So this was the Conservation Act which was conducted under the 1986. Now we'll see the functions and activities of CPCB. That CPCB is this Central Pollution Control Board. So this is in short known as CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board. So functions and activities of the Central Pollution Control Boards are, these are the functions they are conducting. So the first function is assessing and monitoring the quality of water, evaluating the quality of Ganga, Yamuna, Kaveri river water is included in this. So under these control of pollution, in these basically the function of that they are doing is assessing and monitoring the quality of water, and basically especially they are evaluating the quality of Ganga river, Yamuna river and Kaveri river. So they are including these main three rivers in that. And the second function of that, it is assessing and monitoring the quality of air. So firstly they will assessing and monitoring the quality of water, then the quality of air. The third one is National Air Quality Monitoring Program, they will handle. The fourth one is assessing the quality of air in National Command Authority, that is NCA, which is at Delhi. The fifth one is assessing and monitoring the traffic pollution, and the sixth one is setting up authorized pollution checkup center. So these are the functions and activities. These are the another activities by them. So the next one is assessment of carbon dioxide emanated from catalytic vehicles and taking remedial steps for it. Next, discovering non-traditional source of energy, monitoring generation and disposal of solid waste, providing technical advice, research publications, water testing kits, running public awareness programs or campaigns, and the last is providing help to non-governmental organization, etc. So these all are the functions and activities of the CPCB. The National Museum or Natural Sciences, New Delhi is also there. So this museum was established to educate the public and make them aware of the environmental related issues. Then next is Central Ganga Authority. So it was set up in the 1985 to make Ganga pollution free by implementing the Ganga work plan. Then we have Ecological Development Board. This board encourages and creates awareness among student, youth and women for conservation of environment. Then we have Indian National Human, Animal Kingdom and Environment Research Society. So this society basically encourages environment related education and research. Central Public Health Engineering Research Institute is also working under these directions. Next comes Environment Protection Authority. This authority looks after the environment related aspects of National Capital Region, which is known as NCR, National Capital Region, and that was established in 1998. Other than these, many central government organizations and departments of family welfare, town planning, urban housing and transport departments are responsible for the health and conservation of environment. So till now we have studied the national level organizations. Now we will see the state level organizations who are working for the better environment. So here forest and environment departments of state governments are conducting and coordinating and directing the programs related to conservation of better environment. State Pollution Control Board give environmental certificate to industries or factories. Departments of Health, Energy, Mine, Transport and Housing, etc. also carry the responsibility of maintaining environment health and its conservation. So formation of environmental corps or rings is an also important step. And then the local level organization. So firstly we have studied the national level, then state level, and now the local level organizations. So under the local level organizations, panchayats, municipal corporations, town development authorities, urban improvement trust, municipal committees and other autonomous societies or the autonomous bodies encourages the conservation of environment at the local level. So these are the national level voluntary organizations who are working for the nationwide. So in that the first is the Bombay Natural History Society, which is known as BNHS. Second one is Worldwide Fund, that is WWF for Natural India. The third one is Center for Science and Environment, that is CSE. Next is Center for Environment Education, that is CEE. The fifth is Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan Institute of Environmental Education and Research, that is BVIEER, which is at Pune. The next is the Wildlife of India, which is at Dehradun. Next is Botanical Survey of India, which is at Kolkata. Next is Uttarakhand Sevanidhi, which is at Almora. Next is Ranthambore Foundation, which is at Savai Madhopur and Rajasthan, etc. So these all are the national level voluntary organizations. Now we'll see the environmental pollution and laws for the India. So the actual awareness about environmental protection was recognized at a global level at the UN conference on human environment held at Stockholm, which is in Sweden in June 1972. The late Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi took keen interest and initiative to take appropriate steps for protection and improvement in human environment and formulate the Indian laws to control environment pollution in India. So these laws are, the first law is Indian Forest Act, which was formulated in 1972. The second law was formulated in 1972, that was Wildlife Protection Act. The third law was Water Act, which was formulated in 1974. The fourth law was Forest Conservation Act, which was conducted in the 1980. Then Air Protection and Control of Pollution Act, which was consulted in the 1981. Then Environmental Protection Act, which was formulated in 1986. The National Environmental Tribunal Act, which was formulated in 1995. And Public Liability Insurance Act, that was in the 1991. Now we'll see the different legislations related to environment. So in the India, there are so many different legislations or the laws for the betterment of environment. In that, the first act which was formulated under the environmental betterment, that was Forest Act in 1972. So this act basically stipulates that no forest land or any portion of the land that may be used for non-forest purpose. It provides for the constitution of an advisory committee to advise the government on cutting the trees. So under these act, no one is liable to cutting the trees. Then the second law was Forest Conservation Act, which was in the 1980. This act has been passed to control the deforestation, which is cutting of the trees, and which causes ecological imbalance and results in environmental degradation. It has provision to put restrictions on the use of forest land for non-forest purpose. So basically, for the Forest Conservation Act, the person is liable to the penalty for the to the government. So the people cannot use the forest land for the non-forest purposes under this act. Then the third act is Wildlife Protection Act, which is in 1974. This act provides the constitution of a wildlife advisory board, regulations of hunting of wild animals and birds, laying down procedures for declaring the areas of sanctuaries and national parks, and regulations of trade in wild animals. So basically the name itself suggests here Wildlife Protection Act. So here the people are here involving in this law. So the people cannot harm the wildlife, the birds and the sanctuaries or the animals who are living in the wild forests. So here you cannot harm the wild animals or the birds, and you cannot lay down the procedures for declaring the areas of sanctuaries or the areas of national parks. So you should have the you should protect the birds and the animals for this Wildlife Protection Act. Then number 4 is Water Protection and Control of Pollution Act, which is in 1974. It provides for the establishment of central and state pollution control boards for the prevention and control of water pollution. These acts seeks to control pollution primarily through standards to be laid down by the boards and the consent orders issued by them. Stiff penalties are imposed for the violation if you are violating this law, and the boards are given ample powers for investigations and inspection and to take samples and establish laboratories for analyzing the samples. Then number 5, Air Protection and Control Pollution Act, which is in 1981. So air pollution is to be controlled primarily through standards laid down in 1981 by the boards and the consent orders issued by them. For contravening the standards laid down by the boards and for violating the provision relating to the consent by the board, stiff penalties have been provided. Then next is Environment Protection Act in 1986. These acts provides for the major areas of environmental hazards not covered by the existing law linkages in handling matters of industrial and environmental safety, and control mechanism to guard slow insidious buildup of hazardous substances, especially of new chemical in the environment. An authority not only to coordinate the activities of the various regulatory agencies but to assume the role for studying, planning and implementing long-term requirement of the environmental safety. Then next is National Environmental Tribunal Act, which is in 1995. The tribunal shall consist of judicial as well as technical member with appropriate knowledge and experience of legal administration, scientific and technical aspect of the problem related to environment and wildlife, in addition to provide compensation to the people for death, injury or damage to the property or to the environment. And then the next is Public Liability Insurance Act, which is in 1991. This act provides liability insurance for persons injured by the accidents with hazardous materials. The measure mandates that business owners operating with hazardous will take out insurance policies. An environmental relief fund was established and is maintained by industrial operators. Now we'll see the legislations and acts regulating the environmental hygiene. So there are some legislations or the laws and acts which is good to regulate the environmental hygiene. So there are some laws. So here the environmental conservation and control of pollution is about 150 years old in India. So some of the Indian laws of the environment are, so these all are the laws which regulates the environmental hygiene. So in that the first law of environment is which was formulated in the 1860, that is Shore Bombay Nuisance Act. Then again in 1860, that was Indian Penal Code gave some provision to control the nuisance. Then Indian Fisheries Act came in 1897. Then in 1907 Indian Ports Act came. Then Bengal Smoke Nuisance Act, that was in the 1905, and in the 1938 the Motor Vehicle Act came into consideration. Then after that in 1948 there was a Factory Act, and then in 1953 the Maharashtra Prevention of Water Pollution Act came. Then in 1954 Orissa River Pollution and Prevention, and again the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act, which is 2 in the 1954 came. Then in the 1960 the River Boards Act came. In 1962 the Atomic Energy Act, that is related to radiation protection rules, that came. And in the 1963 the Gujarat Smoke Nuisance Act came, and in 1968 the Insecticides Act came into the consideration. The government of India has taken the following steps to control the environmental pollution. So if we talk about the nation, so for the India, these are some steps which have been followed by the Indian government to protect the environment or to control the environmental pollution. So these are the steps. In that the first step is formation of Ministry of Environment and Forest. So here the Central Department of Environment was established in November 1980 under the control of Ministry of Environment on the recommendation of N.D. Tiwari Committee. It was renamed Ministry of Environment and Forest on the 4th April 1985, and this ministry handles the affairs of environment, forest and wildlife. Central Pollution Control Boards have been formed for this purpose. The next step by the Indian government is National Environment Awareness Campaign. So under this campaign, the important programs started by the government of India to create the awareness among the people. These steps are: the first one, environmental education. The Supreme Court has directed University Grants Commission, that is UGC, to prescribe a course on man and environment. UGC has issued circulars to various universities to introduce the course on environmental education. The main focus of environmental education is the following. So these are the focused areas of the environment. These are overpopulation and ways to check its rapid growth, afforestation as a preventive measure to soil erosion and water pollution, afforestation to prevent air pollution, insisting on smokeless cooking, discipline in playing radio and TV and a ban on use of loudspeaker, in elementary knowledge of the scientific and philosophical basis of man and environment, rules regarding the disposal of household waste and general principles of sanitation. So these is many important points or the focused areas of the environmental education. Then National Environmental Campaign. So this campaign was started in 1986 through the mass media of TV, various TV channels, National Geographic channels, Annual Planets, etc. Telecast of their program on environment, for an example, Hum Zameen, Earth File, Wildlife, Living on Edge, etc. So these are the national environmental campaigns. Then comes Paryavaran Vahini. So the Ministry of Environment and Forest has started a scheme called Paryavaran Vahini or Environment Brigade in 1992 to create awareness among common people. The People's Program extends over 168 districts of India with objectives of involvement of people through active participation. Each Vahini has 20 members like students, teachers, doctors, engineers, NGOs, etc. They belonging to different fields. So here Paryavaran Vahini is a main scheme which was started by the Ministry of Environment and Forest. It was in the 1992 and the Paryavaran Vahini is also called as Environment Brigade to create the awareness among common people. So each Vahini has 20 members. So in that members, they may be students, they may be teachers, doctors, engineers and NGO peoples, etc. They will belonging to the different fields. Then special drive for rural areas. So special awareness program regarding environmental sanitation and use of non-conventional energy resources have been launched in rural areas. Environmental friendly product scheme, that is in the 1991. So under the environmental friendly scheme, the environmentally unsafe from pollution point of view, products will be tested before marketing and will be bear a label eco mark with earth port logo will be there, and a notification regarding these was issued on February 21, 1991, covering 4 articles of soaps, detergents, paper and paints. Then celebration of important days. Yes, we are celebrating important days. So by celebrating important days, awareness is created media by seminars, lectures, public meetings, TV films, radios, audio, video, cassette shows, etc. The important days concerning environment are, so these all are the days which are important in context of the environment. So World Environment Day we are celebrating on every 5th of June. It was declared on the 1972 at Stockholm Conference, which is at Sweden. Then Earth Day, which we are celebrating on every 22nd of April, and save Earth from greenhouse gases, that is GHGs, and ozone depletion. And then World Population Day, every 11th July we are celebrating. Then World Health Day, every 7th April we are celebrating it. And Anti-Tobacco Day, 31st May. Then World Forest Day we are celebrating on 21st of March. And the 3rd October we are celebrating World Nature Day. National Science Day we are celebrating on 28th of February. On the 16th October we are celebrating World Food Day. And 24th October we are celebrating United Nations Day. And the 13th October United Nations International Day. And so for lessening natural disaster we are celebrating the week. So Wildlife Week is from 1 to 7 October. and National Awareness Month, which is at 19th November to 18th December. The first National Environment Awareness Program was started in 1986 at Environmental Education Center, Ahmedabad, on Save Water. Then important national level awards. So some international national level awards for individuals and organizations with outstanding work in the field of environment protection has been instituted by the Ministry of Environment and Forest. The main of these awards is to motivate the people for active participation in environmental protection programs. Some of these awards are listed as here. So these all are the awards. So in that, the first award is Pitambar Pant National Environment Fellowship Award 1978, Indira Priyadarshini Vrikshamitra Award, that is in the 1986, then Indira Gandhi Paryavaran Puraskar 1987, Incentive on Hindi Books of Environment 1987, National Award for Prevention and Control of Pollution 1991, the Sultan Qaboos Prize for Environment Preservation, and this prize has been instituted United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organizations, that is UNESCO, Paryavaran Evam Vaso Mantralaya Vaigyanik Puraskar, that is 1994, Mahavriksha Puraskar 1993, Rajiv Gandhi Wildlife Conservation Award 1998. Now we'll see the major areas of activities for pollution control. So in that, the major area first is air quality monitoring. A national network of ambient air quality monitoring stations was initiated in 1984 and was set up in cities and towns in India. The parameters to be measured are sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, oxides of nitrogen, and suspended particulate matter, which is known as SPM, suspended particulate matter, temperature, humidity, wind speed and directions. Then assessment of water quality. Under the National Water Quality Monitoring Program, the water quality of rivers are being monitored. The stations covering all major rivers of country monitor respect of 19 parameters such as total dissolved solids, that is TDS, and biomedical oxygen demand, that is BOD, metals and nitrates. Then assessment of coastal water quality. The Central Pollution Control Board, that is CPCB, in collaboration with the Department of Ocean Development, has identified 173 monitoring stations all along the Indian coast to assess the water quality. 4 state pollution control board have been involved in these, and 25 parameters are being processed to formulate schemes to control and monitor pollution of the wasted water. Preparation of environmental standards. These are based on the standard prepared by the CPCB and Bureau of Indian Standard, that is BIS, and effluent and emission standards for different kinds of industries including thermal power plants have been notified under Environmental Protection Act 1986. Then enforcement of standards came. This is very helpful to control the pollution at source. Minimum national standards, that is MINAS, have been evolved by CPCB for major categories of water and air polluting industries respectively. These standards refers to the minimum limits of effluents and emissions, that is in industry may discharge into any water body or in the atmosphere. The SPCBS can stipulate same or more stringent standards for effluent and emission of discharge. Then came Ganga Action Plan. There are 27 stations along the river at Rishikesh, Kanpur, Allahabad, Varanasi, Patna and Rajmahal. Biochemical oxygen demand, that is BOD, values and other parameters have been recorded to assess the pollution. The Environment Protection Act in 1986, it was formulated in 1986 to provide protection and improvement of environment and matters connected herewith. The Act consists of 26 sections and extend to the whole of the India and came into force on November 19 in 1986. So the objectives of these are, in the section A, the environment quality has been declining since 1960s. These has resulted in increasing pollution, loss of vegetal cover, excessive concentrations of harmful chemicals in atmosphere, and threat to life support system. The concern over the state of environment has grown. There are many laws existing which concern directly or indirectly for protection of environment, but it is necessary to have general legislation for environmental protection. There is an urgent need for enforcement and making general legislation on environmental protection, speedy response in the event of accidents, threatening environment, and deterrence punishment to those who endanger human environment and their safety and their health. So the definitions which is in the section 2 under these are: environment includes water, air, land, and the interrelationship which exists between the water, air, land, and human being, other living creatures, plants, microorganisms, and the property. Environment pollutants, that means any solid, liquid, or gaseous substance present in such concentration as they may be injurious to the environment. Environmental pollution means the presence of any environmental pollutant in the environment. And hazardous substance means any substance or preparation which by reason of its chemical or physical properties is liable to cause harm to the human life, plant life, or property. Then powers and measures of this law. So central government has that power to take all the necessary measures for the purpose of protecting and improving the quality of environment and preventing, controlling, and abating environmental pollution. Central government shall have the power to take measures. So these all are the measures that central government shall take. So it must coordinate with state government and to execute nationwide programs to lay down standards for the quality of environment, to lay standards for emission or discharge of environmental pollutants, a restriction of location of industry in certain area, to lay down and safeguard for the handling of hazardous substances, to examine manufacturing processes as they are likely to cause environmental pollution, to prepare manuals, codes, or guidelines relating to prevention and control of environmental pollution, to establish environmental laboratories for collection and dissemination of information on environmental pollution. Then central government can issue directions and it can order. So it can order closure of an industry, stoppage of the supply of water or electricity or any of the other services. So the rules of central government for the protection of environmental quality, these all are the rules. So the rules may provide standard of quality of air, quality of water, and quality of soil. Maximum permissible limit of concentrations of various environmental pollutants including noise and dust. The procedure of safeguard and safeguard for handling hazardous substances. Restriction on the location of industry. Procedures and safeguard for the prevention of accidents. Measures to control environmental pollution. So these all are the measures which are the government is taking to control the environmental pollution. These measures are: the Act prohibits every person carrying on any industry from discharging or emitting any environmental pollutant in excess of prescribed standard. Hazardous substances shall be handled only in accordance with the prescribed safeguards. The person in charge of premises or the industry from where excess emission occurs is bound to inform the board, and he is also bound to render all the assistance if called upon. Any authorized officer of the board has right to enter any place for performing his duty or to examine and test any equipment or industrial point or to determine whether rules are being followed or not. Any authorized person of the board can take samples anytime, and for the analysis of samples, government has set up environmental laboratories appointed analysis. Then punishment and penalties. Any authorized person of the board can lodge a complaint in the court. Any person can lodge a complaint in the court after a notice of at least of 60 days. The central government has power to make rules regarding various matters. If a person is found guilty and then does offence again and again, then the additional fine up to rupees 25,000 and imprisonment of 7 years can be extended in these cases. So this is the punishment if the person is found guilty. Then the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act in 1981. The Air Act was framed the year 1981 but came into the force on 29th of March 1982 for the effective prevention, control and abatement of the air pollution in the country. The Air Act extends to the whole of India and is a welfare legislation dealing with the special evil of pollution. Therefore, it is considered a modern act or special act. Central and State Pollution Control Board, constituted under Water Act 1974, shall exercise the power and perform functions for the prevention and control of air pollution to improve the quality of air. So these are the measures to control the air pollution. The Air Act was amended in 1987 to remove these difficulties encountered during implementation, to confer more powers on the implementing agencies and to impose more stringent penalties for violation of the provision of the Act. Definitions of air pollutant was amended to include noise. Also, section 19 was added, that was air pollution control area can be declared. The state government, after consultation with state board, can declare any area within the state as a pollution control area. This power provides measures which are preventive in nature, particularly use of only approved appliances in the premises, prohibit the use of any fuel other than the approved fuel in any air pollution control area, prohibit the burning of any material other than the fuel in any air pollution control area. The state government has to notify these declarations in the official gazette. No person without the previous consent of the state board in writing can operate any industrial plant in any air pollution control area. No person operating an industrial plant in any air pollution control APC area shall discharge the emission of any air pollutant in excess of the standard laid down by the state board. Emission of air pollutant in excess of the standard laid down by the state board is an offence and punishable under the section 37 of Air Act. In such cases, board can lodge an application to the court. On the receipt of application, the court can order the person to check the emission of air pollutants or can authorize board to implement the directions. All expenses incurred by the board shall be recoverable from the person concerned. Any person authorized by the board has the right to enter any place. Why? For the purpose of performing his duty, for the purpose of determining whether the provision and direction under this act are becoming complied with, for the purpose of examining or testing any control equipment, industrial plant, record register or any other document. Any obstruction or willful delay is offence which is punishable. State board has the power to obtain any information from a person carrying on any industry. State board has the power to take samples of air emission, and the board has set a procedure to be followed in this connection. So for this, the penalties would be: violation of act under any circumstances may lead to imprisonment for 1.5 years to 6 years and fine of no limits. Whosoever damages the property of board leads to imprisonment up to 3 months or fine up to 7,10,000 rupees or both. Offense by a company or government department may lead to punishment to the director of company or head of government department according to the offense. Court shall take cognizance of any offense if the complaint is made by board or its authorized officer, any person who has given notice of not less than 60 days. State government has the power to supersede state board if the board persistently makes default in the performance of its functions. Central government has the power to make the rules. Then the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974. The Water Act was enacted on 23rd March 1974 to implement the decision reached at Stockholm Conference under Article 252 Section 1 of Indian Constitution. It is a social welfare legislation enacted for the purpose of prevention and control of water pollution, maintaining the restoring of wholesomeness of the water, establishing the pollution control boards, and assigning powers and functions relating water pollution to the boards. The act has been adopted by many states like Assam, Bihar, Gujarat, Haryana, GNM, that is Himachal Pradesh, and particularly there Jammu and Kashmir, Karnataka, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Tripura, West Bengal, and all union territories with effect from 23rd March 1974. The state of UP adopted it on 3rd of February 1975. So what is the definition of water pollution? Contamination of water or alteration of physical, chemical and biological properties of water. Discharge of sewage or trade effluent discharge of gaseous substances which may likely to these are create nuisance, and second, render the water harmful or injurious to the public health, safety and domestic or commercial, industrial or agricultural uses, or the life and health of animals or plants or aquatic life. Legislations regarding prevention and control of water pollution are: State Pollution Control Board is power to prevent and control water pollution. The powers of the state board are: they can make survey of any area of the industry. They can take samples of water of any sewage or trade effluent for the purpose of analysis, to enter any building, to examine any plant or record, to order closure of any industry or stoppage of supply of electricity and water. Then punishment and penalties. So failure to comply with the direction of the board to give information results into imprisonment up to 3 months or fine up to 10,000 rupees. If anybody destroys property of the board, will be fined 10,000 or imprisonment of or the both. Anybody who pollutes the water will be fined up to rupees 5,000 and imprisonment from 1.5 years to 6 years. And anybody who interferes with the monitoring devices like meter and gauge will be awarded imprisonment with up to the 3 months or fine of 10,000 rupees. If any offense is committed by company, the director or manager of the company will be punished. Court shall take cognizance of any offense under this act if the complaint is made by board or any authorized officer, any person who has given notice of not less than 60 days. So Parliament amended the Water Act in 1988 to make it more effective and also to deal with air pollution. Then comes noise pollution and legislative measures. So noise is defined as a loud, unpleasant and unwanted sound that disturbs the unwilling ears. It adversely affects the physiological and mental health of the people, and noise is measured in units which is called as decibels. So it is in short called as dB, decibels. A sound above 80 decibels causes noise pollution. So if the sound is above 80 decibels, that is known as noise. So these are the permissible noise level in different areas. So here you can see here, this is in the daytime, which is from early morning 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and this is of the night time from 9 p.m. to morning 6 a.m. So in the industrial area, in the daytime 75 decibel is only permissible, in the night time 65. If it is commercial area, 65 decibel in daytime and in the night 55 decibel considerable. In the residential area, 55 decibel in the daytime and in the night 45 decibel. And in the silence zone, 50 decibels in the daytime and in the night 45 decibel is only permissible. So these are the permissible noise level in the different areas. Then legislative measures. Excessive noise has been recognized as a crime under section 268 of Indian Penal Code, nuisance section 1860. Noise has been recognized as a pollutant under section 6 to 26 of Environment Protection Act 1986. This act has been amended in 1989 to prescribe day and night limits of noise level. An area with 100 meters radius around a hospital or institution or court can be declared a silence zone. The use of vehicular horns, loudspeakers and burning of crackers is banned in these areas of a silence zone under this act. Under section 133 of Indian Penal Code, that is IPC, the use of loudspeaker is a public nuisance. Making loud noise is punishable with imprisonment up to 5 years or fine up to 1 lakh rupees or both imprisonment and the fine both. In case of it, if it is continuous, an additional fine may be extended to 5,000 rupees per day, and if the above contravention continued beyond a period of 1 year after the date of conviction, imprisonment may be extended to 7 years. So this is all about the community organizations. Now we'll take the small summary. Environmental factors such as air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, etc. are responsible for the environmental health risk. The environmental pollution is protected at national and state level. The voluntary and social agencies also participate to reduce environment pollution. A comprehensive approach to pollution control based on principles such as to prevent pollution at source, encourage, develop and apply best available, practicable, technical solution has been undertaken. To prevent and control environmental pollution, Paryavaran Vahinis have been constituted and there are some institutions which are involved in controlling environmental activities such as Environmental Training Institute, Tata Research Center, etc. To control environmental pollution, the Government of India has formulated various laws and acts. Any violation of these laws results into the penalties and punishments. These laws are Indian Forest Act 1972, Wildlife Protection Act 1972, 1974 Water Act, Forest Conservation Act 1980, Air Protection and Control of Pollution Act 1981, Environment Protection Act 1986, the National Environmental Tribunal Act 1995 and Public Liability Insurance Act 1991. The Government of India started program to create awareness among the people to protect environment and they are environmental education, National Environmental Campaign, Paryavaran Vahini, environmental friendly product schemes and celebration of important days to create the awareness among people about environmental protection. So this is all about environmental health risk and the environmental pollution and the community organizations who are working for the better environment for the people. So this is all about community organizations for the betterment of the organizations. Thank you.